Have you ever thought about starting a real estate team? Josh Bryan here with the Linhart team at Coldwell Banker. Here to share a few of our thoughts and what our path has been through this.
Right now, we're currently a team of 10 agents. We have 4 admin. We are halfway through the year. We just hit 103 sales. So last year, we sold $55 million.
Yep.
There's actually a 20% increase from the year previous in a market that was down 30%.
Yep.
So it's been, how long have we been partnered on doing this?
Since 2020.
Since 2020, right? Me and Josh partnered on growing this real estate team. And I remember, you remember those first few years?
I do.
Right? I think that's the thing. I think that
the struggles, the looks of, are we sure we're doing the right thing? Is this headed in the right direction?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's the assumption was Hofstadter's laws. Everything will take longer than you anticipate, even in taking account of Hofstadter's law. I think it's called that. But it's that of like, we were like, it's going to be 3 years and we'll be able to get to 100 million. Wasn't that what we thought?
Yep.
Yeah. So that was 2 years of, right? We had 3 agents, something like that. We lost a couple of them.
Right.
We didn't make
grinding
any money, right? None.
Yes.
Like it was just us having to sell to support the cost of the team and our administrative people, right? To keep pounding our head against the wall to see if this worked and trying new things and starting something like this. This was something that, oh my gosh, Tony, do you remember how many times we had that conversation of like, dude, what are we doing this for?
Go back and watch our first video we ever did with an iPhone saying against a chair in an office that it was absolutely terrible.
It's so bad, but we still did it.
I'm sorry, people, for watching that.
Yeah, whoever had to watch that. If somebody, don't go looking for that video or any of those ones. Are they still on there? They are? Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, and it was like, we started at that point. And it was just struggle all the way through the entire time, And I think that's the thing you realize, I think, when you meet with other people, they're like, I want to start a team. I want to do this. It's like, do you know what you're getting yourself into?
The sacrifice, the hours.
Everybody thinks it just goes, well, I'll sell and then somebody else will give me part of their commission check. It's like, that doesn't work.
No. It will for a short period.
Yep. And maybe they'll leave or you'll be doing more work to try to help them, right? And or like, what's the point of them being with you on their team if that's what you do?
Right.
And I think that was a clear objective of ours of being like, hey, we're going to make sure that we have the best things for them, that we do help them, that we do invest in them. We need to have a reason for actually getting part of their commission checks.
Right.
And I think that's the thing is like, you'll see some teams that'll do it where they'll have what they call superstar agent teams, right? And they'll just be like, I have extra leads that I can't take, And it's like, all right, sure, you give them leads. And it's like, you realize that agent can leave like at any time and just buy those leads most likely,
No guidance, no direction, no help whatsoever.
No atmosphere, no culture, and that's the thing. And I think that what do you think has been the biggest thing that's changed about this team from the first inception of it to
I would say
now?
I mean, through the years it's been the culture of creating something where people want to be.
Yeah.
I think has been the biggest change of everybody truly enjoys working here and everybody wants to learn. They want to learn more and they want to get better. And whether, and everybody's better is different. Somebody's better is I want to do 30 transactions. The next person may be 50. They want to be better, which is, that helps. And as said, the culture and the personalities here, everybody fits and jives together.
Yeah, and I think it's like, well, how do you do that? And it's like, if you have lead, it's like, what are the systems? What's the playbook? And this is the biggest thing I think I run into when we first started, and like you can go and we met with a bunch of different agents that ran teams and we did these masterminds and it was all that. It's like we saw so many different playbooks and it was like, if I just take this playbook, it works for them, it'll work for me. And that is not how it works.
No.
I remember specifically, do you remember the meeting we had with Ryan Platsky? We had that virtual meeting. We're like, who do we hire next? And he's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you need? And it's
Right.
like, isn't there a stepping? Shouldn't you know? You
Right.
know, it's like,
Yep.
of course he doesn't know.
Right.
You know?
He's not here to see it.
Yeah, he has no idea. And I think that that's the one thing I try to give advice to other agents is like, you shouldn't copy their playbook because you don't know why they're running the plays that they're running, right? So for somebody to go, oh, you should do this and you should do that. If I know nothing about your culture, if I know nothing about who you are and what you're doing, there's no way I could give you the right direction of systematically what you need.
Right.
Because that changes based off of, and if you don't have the wisdom to know where that is, then it's not going to work anyways.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think that was one of the hard truths of like, man, can't just somebody just tell us how to do this stuff?
Right.
And it's nope.
Right.
They can't.
Correct.
They can't.
And everybody has said there's more than one way to do it. Every situation's different. If you use the analogy of you can't take Kirk Cousins and go put him in an option offense. It just isn't going to work. It's you can't copy somebody's thing. But obviously, masterminding has helped to
as an idea,
and
going, that would work for us. That's a weak spot that we have in our business.
how do we filter that?
How would we use it the way that we should use it?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? How would that work for our team? And not everything works the same way. And I think that's so many times. I think somebody tries to start a team and they just like, oh, I'll plug and play these things, or somebody will just tell me what to do. And it's like, you have to know where to move the chess pieces, when to move them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the hard part for sure. It's like everybody's read, or you have Millionaire Real Estate Agent, right? They have the full structure's right there.
Yep.
Like you can copy and paste that. It's a good place to start, but in there'll be so many different nuances of how you do it differently, or what weaknesses you as a team have, or what strengths that you have. And if you don't accentuate the strengths and prevent the weaknesses,
right,
then you don't know how to do it correctly.
Right. You're not going to move the needle how you want it to move, or you're not going to be happy doing it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the thing that took us a while to realize, or it took me a while to realize, when I was like, and I think the change that I made was like, I don't care what decisions they're making or how they run their stuff. I care what principles they have behind the reason why they made that change, or they plugged that in.
Right.
That is much more effective to go, this is how they look at the business. This is what they think is really important from a fundamental standpoint. And then go, okay, this is how we create that.
Right. They take our main principles that we've kind of built this core on, and making sure those decisions are being made through that lens, essentially.
Yeah, and I think that was a really important thing that we did when we did. It's a book called Traction that's called EOS, right? And we took that to go, okay, what is this business? What are our principles? Who are we? Where are we going?
Yep.
Then now we know how to get there. We can steer the ship, or we can add things in, or if it doesn't fit in our culture, it doesn't come here.
Right.
It's not in it.
Yep.
We won't allow you into this, for sure.
Yep.
Right. One of that thing is like the top one is like teamwork. It's like, if you're selfish, if you don't work with a team, like if you don't help every other agent here, it's like, you're not a part of this.
Right.
That's not the way we're going to be able to win, or to be able to help our clients. And it starts with that of the most important thing is it's always our clients.
Right.
It has to be. Then how do we build a team that supports that and helps that? Then also, when it comes to that second layer, is our agents are now our clients. Is how do we do the best for them so they can be the best they possibly can be for their clients?
Correct. Yep.
I think that's the important mindset that I think to have to it when you're creating it. But so
that us setting those core principles of how we're going to look through that lens of every decision we make, or the people we hire, do you have those features that we're looking for? If not, you're not a good fit, and probably not going to be here.
Yeah. That's the Matt, one of the top agents actually at Coldwell Banker in the country, right? Not from Midwest. And
yep.
Having a conversation with her, I was like, well, how do you interview people? And she goes, I asked them one question. I was like, do you like dogs? And I was like, what are you talking about? Do you like dogs? It's like, we have dogs in the office all the time.
Yep.
Like, do you like dogs? It's like, all right, so understanding that is like, I'm not asking people, do they like dogs? We don't ever have dogs in this office. Like, what's the point of that question?
Right.
On
Yep.
it, like the principle to that question is like, what's the question that I can ask to know if you'll fit in here, right? Like, what is the do you like dogs question for us to be like, if you answer this, like, yeah, we'll all like you. You know what I mean? I think that's where that question when it's like, I don't even understand what you're saying right now, you
Right.
know?
Yep.
But it's like, now I get exactly what you're doing with that question. So now we ask questions like that. We find out what the question is of like, well, if you say yes, or if you like this, right, then most likely you'll fit in really well here.
Right. Which
is going to be really important for us and our team culture and for us to be able to work together.
And
so
as we continue to grow, those are, as I said, the core principles we're looking for.
For sure. And I think that steering away from them and not having people like that, man, it just makes the work environment so difficult.
Right.
It makes it so difficult, and it makes it not enjoyable and the most important thing you have about any job that you do is you got to be able to enjoy it.
Enjoy what you're doing. Enjoy who you work with,
and feed your family. Like,
yes.
It's those two things. Like, do you enjoy what you're doing, and can you make a living doing it?
Right.
It's like, can we have both those in a space that real estate, if you didn't know, is very difficult. This is not an easy job.
No.
So many people think it's easy. Is really, really not. It's not easy, right? And I think and it's stressful. Is really, really stressful. Those are the two things that, like, I'm guaranteed if you start real estate, you're gonna see that it's hard,
yep.
and you're also it's gonna be stressful.
Right.
Those two things are always underestimated, I think, by anybody who's getting into real estate.
Yeah, the failure stats in this career field are insane.
Yeah, and the amount of times that you fail in a day or in a week when things go wrong, right? It's just you don't have as much control on it, and I think that's the thing that's really important for us, for our team members. Is like, hey, we're going to protect you from those. We're going to help you reduce the amount of terrible moments you have. But when you do have one, we'll always be there for you.
Right. We'll be in those terrible moments with you because they happen daily. I mean, we're hired and fired daily.
Yes.
In this career.
There was always this quote, like in football, it's like, you want a guy that'll show up for a back alley bar fight.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like
that.
It's like, our agents have a problem, like, you know what I mean? It's like, call me. I'm there. Like, I'm here to fix that thing.
Yep.
I'm the first one to show up,
Yep.
maybe to stop you from making this fight happen. That might be what I actually do, but if we have to, like, yeah, we'll do it.
Had that
every single time.
Help them through those hard conversations, or help them problem solve, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's the essence, I think, that you need from it. But on that, so it's like, that first year, do you know how many sales we had that first year? It was basically me and you that sold the majority of the properties, right?
Yep.
And it was
maybe 140.
Yeah, but no, we were at probably 35 million, maybe
30 million.
Probably somewhere around 30 million, right? And it was me, you, and 2 or 3 other agents, right?
Yep.
And so now it's like, that's right. That's 4 years ago now.
Yep.
4 years ago, if we would have said, oh, we'll be here at this point, we probably never even would have done it.
Right.
We probably never would have done it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's taken a long time,
Yes.
Yep. And I would say that this year might be the first, or maybe last year was probably the first year was like starting to see it actually work.
Yep. Everything was starting to come together.
Yeah. And you had all not even like the kinks of just like, you start sailing a little bit smoother, and like there is a light at the end of the tunnel of all of this, you know what I mean? You start to see it a little bit, and I think that it's it's coincided exactly the same as like our social media. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
We did that for 1 year at least, or 2 years,
beating our head against the wall
of like, what are we doing, right? And now we've seen a little bit of like, oh, well, at least somebody listens to this, and somebody, you know, well, we still keep doing it. I think that's the thing that most people don't realize, of like, when you get an opportunity, or like, man, you got to work a lot with no reward.
Correct.
Like, absolutely none.
Yep.
There was no reward to those first few years. Do you know what I mean? There's been no reward to doing this for 2 years straight. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
There's nothing where like, hey, yeah, do this. 3 years from now, it might work for you.
And I'm hoping in 3 years from now, when we watch this again, we can say, "Oh,
maybe
look at the fools we were then, and now look where we are." So,
but that happens in like so many, and even in real estate too. You got Colin over there who's been working his butt off, doing all the right things, and like it doesn't happen overnight. And you
Right.
don't know when it's going to happen.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean you don't put in the work for that one chance for it to work.
Correct.
It's like, and I think it's that when it comes to running a team or even starting a business, like, dude, you're going to have to put in a lot of work and you're not going to get a reward.
Correct.
It doesn't happen as quickly as people think it's going to.
Correct. Kind of like real estate renting. You're
Kind of like,
investing.
yes,
Yeah.
we just had a full talk on like at the first, it's not going to look great. It's not going to be enjoyable. But 5 years down the road or 10 years down the road or 20 years down the road, it's like, I heard this quote, and it's this Hormozy quote. It's like, if you're willing to do something with no reward for 1 year, you'll be more successful than 90% of other people, right? If you're willing to do that same thing for 10 years, you'll be in like the top 1%. If you're to be able to do that same thing for a lifetime, you'll change the world. It's like, it's understanding like, are you willing to do all of the right things for no reward for a really long time?
Yep.
Just for the hope that it might work.
What are you willing to sacrifice to get there?
Yeah, but I don't even think it's that of like, are you willing to keep the same enthusiasm, the same motivation? Are you willing to do it day in, day out with not even ever having a clue if it's going to work or not? Never knowing. You don't know. And then one day you get a call and it does work, right?
Yep.
Or one day you look back and you see like, oh, this thing is working. I think that leads to like where we're at now. You know what I mean? Like now it's completely different for how we run the business and how it works and how we're set up. It's like, man, it works now. And it's taken 4 years to get there. What we thought was going to take two,
Maybe
or
3.
a year. We probably like, oh, we can set this thing up. We're good agents. We've done this for a while. We know people, right? It's like, no, that doesn't work.
Right.
It's 4 years. And then now, right, we have the best year. We'll have the best year we've ever had.
Yes.
And it's like, and we get that, and people are like, oh, well, how do you guys do it? Like, how did you build this or whatever? Like, what's going on there? Like you have that. And it's like, we work.
Keep things
simple
going.
as that.
Yep.
Like what do you mean? We work on the business. Most importantly, we do that. We're not just selling 24/7. It's like we work on how do we make this better for our teammates? How do we make this better for our administrative staff? Like, how do we make this better? We take our time and focus on that when, yes, us selling makes us more money. If we just sat and sold the entire time, we would make more. But we take that to go, no, we'll skip that. We'll do this because maybe in the long run, maybe it'll be better. I don't know. But this is just the more important side of it, right? So taking that to working on the business, to knowing what it looks like, to knowing the leads in, to knowing the numbers, to making sure that people feel good, to make sure that they're cared for and they know how to do their business. Having that focus is the most important. Having meetings,
the
right?
best systems possible to
knowing
run
exactly
their
what
business.
those things are, like being able to also take the time to switching over all that software to doing it, right? Tony, it's a freaking nightmare, right? All of that stuff, to testing and trialing things that like you hear somewhere else outside to go, oh, this might be a good idea. It's like, well, let me see. Let me be the one to figure out if this is going to work so I don't waste the team's time with them doing it.
Right.
I think that is the thing you have to focus on, is doing those things. And it's like you have to stop what you're doing or you have to add on more time, where you can't just sell all the homes and you have to sacrifice that. And are you willing to do it? And like, yeah, you're probably going to earn a lot. I earned the least amount of money I ever earned that first year I added on with you.
Yep.
It was by far the least amount I ever earned, right? And it's taken me years to even get back to when I was just on the team.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's the thing, right? You have people leave the team and stuff, it's like, this will be easy, And it's like, oh, man, there's a lot of expenses to this, a lot of time. It's the mental energy of like you having to figure out all of those little things to how you can do this and when does this change and adding on this product or software, right? And knowing all those things. But I think
and why is it important, and making sure our team understands that it's important that we have them and what we're doing is moving them in the right direction as well.
For sure. And I think that having that focus, if you start a team and you work on your team, right? I think it's knowing that, like, are you investing in them? Are you truly, like, with money and with your time and with your effort?
Right.
Is
And
that
your
actually,
knowledge. Right.
Is that a place where they're better off to be than anywhere else?
Yep.
Or did you just trick them? Right? Is
Right.
that what it is?
Yep.
Because if you just trick them and if you don't do that and you don't put the effort into them, they'll leave. They'll figure it out.
Yep.
They have opportunities. There's people calling them every single day. And if you don't do that, it's just, I don't see how it works. And I think that's the thing that we've that we've done is understanding how to run this thing as a business, right? And how to be able to help our agents as much as possible. And it's working.
Yes.
It's finally working.
And watching them grow and succeed has been, amazingly rewarding. Taking Mercedes, who, struggled, and then all of a sudden it clicked, and now she's
an absolute monster.
Yes.
And I think it's that there's a quote. It's actually a book. It's a book I've never read actually, but it says this, like, leaders eat last. And it's like, I'm making sure that every person on this team is in a better position than I'm even in.
Yep.
I'll be the last one to take it. I'll be the last one, to leave. All of that stuff is like, they come first. And I think that's the thing. It's hard as a real estate agent. It's always been solo by themselves all the time. It's like, are you okay with not being the most important person here?
Right.
Like, can your ego handle that?
Ego's got to get checked at the door.
Yeah. It's like, will you put more effort into them than you do on yourself? Will you? And if you don't, man, it's hard to do it that way.
Right.
It's hard for them to ever follow you. It's hard for them to ever think that you care about them. And if they don't, then they're never going to listen to you. You're never going to be able to get them to do the things that they should be doing, because they know, they can see right through it.
Right.
It's obvious too. Even if they don't say it, they know it. So I think that's the number one principle I think that we take from this, of why this has worked. It's like, we just work harder on them than we do on ourselves. I think that's the most important thing.
Which has created the culture that we have, and why everybody enjoys being here.
And that's what's taken, from 55 million last year, which was a 20% increase in a very tough market.
Right.
When it's always that, when you hear some other agents and they're just like, oh man, I don't have any sales. Like, what's going on? It's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
Like, I'm confused. Like,
Right.
I was like, that's not what we see.
Right.
What are we doing differently? What is it? Do we have some secret trick up our sleeve or something? And there was
we're just willing to work harder than everybody else.
Yeah, there's that. But it was like, I went into another office, and it was the day after Christmas. It was the day after Christmas, and I went in there, and I was meeting with a broker, and it's like, where is everybody? It's like, oh, people usually take this time off, And I came back to our office, and there's 7 people in there the day after Christmas, just like
grinding away.
And it's like, oh, that's the difference. Maybe that's it. Is that as simple as it is? And it usually is, And I think it's that of like, do you have a culture and environment that has that? And no, it's not a culture and environment of like, hey, stay here forever and you have to be here and you have to work. It's like, we didn't tell anybody to show up that day.
Right.
I was not one, not one person like, hey, make sure you're in the day after Christmas. Like, if you have some stuff to do, I don't know, be here. If you want to sell some homes, And I think that's the thing. It's like that. And then the other one was remember when interest rates, that Q4, right?
Yep.
That Q4 was an effing nightmare.
Yep. That was fall of 22.
Was that fall?
Fall of 22.
Fall of 22.
When rates went from 3% to 6, 7.
It was a nightmare in the real estate market. And I remember talking with a bunch of agents, and then just like, oh yeah, nothing's happening, nothing's working. And it was a point to our team. It's like, everybody else is not reaching out. Everybody else is not trying to help people.
Right.
They're scared. They're just talking about it, the water cooler, about how bad things are going. It's like, reach out, find a way to help your clients.
What's the 3 basic principles we go on here as far as the sales?
Yeah, it's contacts, appointments, they equal accepted contracts.
Yep.
And in that, all of those 3 things is, how are you helping the client?
Correct.
It's not contacts, be like, hey, here's a text message.
Right.
How can I help you? How can I identify your problem and help you solve it?
Yep.
If you can't do those things within the contacts, appointments, and accepted contracts, it doesn't really matter.
Correct.
You can.
I can call somebody.
You can
with
call 1,000 people, and maybe somebody's like, yeah, I can do this. You know what I mean? But if you can take
call
those
with a
same
purpose,
1,000
not
people
just
and understand their problem and solve it for them, or help them understand how to solve it, that's the difference maker.
Yep.
And that's the thing that I think that we bring, or try to bring, for our agents. Like, we're going to teach you how to solve their problems. That's what we're here for. We're going to give you options and leads and opportunities in that way. And the best way to be able to do is as much of just problem solving as we can, to take the other things off your plate, but also help you understand, this is your client. This is most likely what their problem is. Here's how to help them. Here's how to articulate to that so you can help them.
How to guide them through the process.
Guide them through the process.
Buying, selling.
Or turning their house in rental, or to not do that. That was exactly the conversation I called with last night. It's like, he told me the situation. He told me about their house. He told me what they were going to buy. I'm like, why are they leaving that house? This doesn't make sense.
Right.
What? Ask them. Find out. Like, hey, have you ever thought about just staying in your house? That question is the most important thing a real estate agent can do for you, is to stop you from doing a real estate transaction.
Be honest about, not just
To be
making
able
a sale.
To understand, like, this actually doesn't make sense for you.
Right.
This is what you should do. Because maybe they didn't know, right? They didn't know, like, oh, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I could build an addition on my house and that would only cost this or whatever, right? They maybe didn't know all of those things. Like, give them the information to solve their problem. Their problem is their house that they're currently in doesn't work for them. Can you make it work for them?
Right.
Can they make it work for them? What is that thing? 9 times out of 10, they usually can, right? But like having that conversation, like, this doesn't make sense to me of why you're moving. I need to know. Or I need to be able to solve it to where you don't move.
Right.
That's fine with me too.
Yep.
Because our job is to solve problems. That's what it is. And I think that taking that approach, and also with our teammates too, of like, that is how you have to treat it every single time. It's not about how do I get the commission check. Never. You get a commission check when you do a good job and when you solve the problem correctly.
Yep.
You don't get it and you don't deserve it if you didn't do what was right by them. And the problem with that is, like, they'll never call you again.
Correct.
They'll never refer you. You'll never be able to grow a big business if you do it that way. It's just really how it happens. And I think that's the thing we try to take to our clients and also take to our team members too. It's like, I'm going to steer you in the right direction that's best for you. Sometimes that might not be here. Sometimes that might be someplace else.
Yep.
We'll figure out what that is. That's what we're here to do every single time. And people know that, I think. I hope, I guess, But that's kind of, I guess, our journey from,
Stardom to now.
3 agents and 30 million, where 10 was done by me, 20 was done by you, or like somewhere in there, right? And then now to where, we have agents that sell, 10 million, and there's 10 of them now,
Right.
We have 4 administrative staff. That's insane.
Yep.
It's a giant difference, and also in a market that's hard for real estate agents. This is not an easy one.
And we're on pace to grow again by another probably 20% again this year.
Yeah, that's true. What do you think we get to? 70 million? You think we'll get to 70? All right, so around 15. Okay. We're still not there, right? We thought I would get to 103
103 years, yeah.
Yeah, how naive we were, right? This will be easy. We can do this, right? We've done it before, right? It's not. It's definitely true.
Lots of moving pieces daily.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the number one thing that's different when you run a team, is like the amount of decisions you have to make. Like, it's constantly.
Decision fatigue is a real thing.
Oh my gosh, isn't it? You know what else's fatigue is doing these for a long time. That's for sure.
Yes.
So, but on that note, that's been a little bit about how we've grown our team, a little bit about what's important to us, and maybe a chance for us to reflect on where we were to where we are now. And it's not even the same realm. We don't look the same. You wouldn't even notice it if you walked in this office and saw our team. Like, it's a night and day different, and in a good way, that's for sure. And now this is a place where truly I think agents can really, really succeed and find out how good they can be.
Right. I just thinking about how many agents they started part-time have gone full-time now. I'm thinking Eric in specific of
Eric.
a month ago was working another job, doing this part-time, and we're trying to encourage him the whole time of, you got this. And now all of a sudden he's got 4 or 5 contracts going right now that he's on fire.
Yeah.
Just because he's putting more time into this.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. This is but on that, it's like, man, this has been it's been a wild journey. That's for sure. I'll tell you that much.
Yes.
I don't think I'm the same. Tony, I'm not the same person. That's for sure. And Josh isn't either. Josh is completely different.
I'm reading books now.
Dude reads books.
Audiobooks.
Yeah.
We don't read the word. We listen to books.
It's all the same thing, right? There's a little bit about our journey, I think, in a philosophical version of it, rather than the nuts and bolts of what that is. If you always want to know what that is, just reach out. We did a software webinar for that, so you can see exactly what the nuts and bolts look like.
Tech stack.
Our tech stack, yeah, which has been a complicated process of what we do in the business. But I think what's more important is like what values do we adhere by. So for more information like this, and we're talking like this, if you guys have questions, man, DM us or something like that. We'll answer them. We like this topic. We know it pretty well. And
we like lunch and beer too.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. We'll be there for that too. So, All right. See you next time.